Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for our 5th episode of STEM STEAM activities at home in the classroom. Make sure to share this with your colleagues and others because we're continuing to do some awesome interactive hands-on activities, including what we're doing today. We're also going to be focusing on some Halloween themes again. Woo woo! It's going to be a lot of fun. Now I'm going to pass along to the presentation to Josh, who will be presenting this webinar.
Sorry, hi, I'm Josh. I'm on mute. Turning on mute just as a double check. Hi, happy Wednesday. It's the 21st. And also special note, it's my birthday today. So feel free to wish me birthday wishes galore as we live stream yet again from our hallway. Hopefully next week we'll have our studio finished, but construction. So anyway, we're in the hallway. So today we're going to do some more fun paper circuit stuff as part of the wonderful Nasco Education. There we go. So just as a fun note here, all the materials, supplies, guides, directions, all the stuff you see here on the table that we'll be doing today, you can find at Nasco Educate and Nasco Education. There we go. And if you have other questions, talk to Jordan because he loves speaking to customers just like you. I know for a fact because he's a swell guy. But yeah, we're going to dive right into some fun paper circuits activities. So as a quick reminder, in case anyone's like, what's a paper circuit, Josh? What's this weird thing you're doing? Paper circuits, when we use conductive tape and LEDs or other electronics, LEDs just one of the most easy things to use, on paper. We're making circuits on paper in a very simple, kid-friendly, high-interest, open-ended, low-cost format. Thanks, Pete. Also, Pete, our producer's off to the side over here pushing buttons. So if I'll sometimes say things to Pete, so it's Pete. He's great, but paper circuits are great. So we have a paper circuits kit that we produce that Nasco carries. There we go. This is a small version of that paper circuits kit. For a classroom setting, you're probably wanting to get the large classroom set of this. Nasco, they're most of the same letters. Nasco also has some small STEM bags as well, some take-home material kits we're putting together, especially for them, that can be sent home for kids for home learning. Since not so much group activities anymore, it's all individual learning thanks to COVID, either at home or in the classroom. You won't be doling these out individually, but Nasco has a couple different STEM things. Make sure I get the names right here. It's the, oh, no, take that sheet off. I don't know. Individual student small circuitry kit. It's a small version. And then there's the large circuitry kit. And Jordan can have information on that. Those are just some nice take-home sets of materials. We have lesson plans, directions, quite a few different activities. Our big thing with that was having about more than 3 weeks worth of materials in one little bag. But paper circuits work really well to hand out to kids individually. Our big classroom set has 120 LEDs, 40 batteries, 130 feet of tape in there, our special nylon conductive tape, which is the bee's knees, let me tell you that. Say no to copper foil. Pete has a graphic. Oh, he's slow on the draw. I have to put it right in the middle too. There we go. He always has a graphic. He's usually on top of that. Copper foil is bad. But the bigger classroom sets are really easy to break apart to send home as well with kids. So everybody gets a chunk of tape, a battery, a couple of LEDs to do some of these activities at home, along with a printed off template as well. So I'm gonna put this off to the side. And this is our nylon conductive tape called Maker Tape. Nasco carries it in our kits as well as individually in big rolls like this. It's nylon, so it's pretty much indestructible. It's good enough for parachutes, good enough for paper circuits. It's also conductive on top and bottoms, just overlap 2 pieces, which we'll be doing and using in a couple of our projects today. We do everything from simple circuits like you'll see here today to doing things with programming, doing stuff on Lego, walls, windows, fabric, because it's a fabric tape, it works well for wearables. But that's the Maker Tape pitch right there. So it's Halloween. You're like, hey, what can I do for Halloween? That's just a few short days away on this watch I'm not wearing, because no one wears a watch anymore. So paper circuits is great because it's nice and open-ended. Not for Halloween, but also for upcoming winter holidays as well. Rudolph's, menorahs, Christmas trees, ornaments, you name it. Easy to do with paper circuit stuff. We're going to show off a couple of these projects. We showed a couple off last week as well, and I believe Nasco has access to that as you can rewatch that webinar. But essentially, we have some fun templates that we can do both light up and also some fun movement-based things. We want to show off a couple of those different projects today to give you an idea of some of the projects you can do with just the same batch of materials. Because I always like to have the kids choose which project they do. So P over here might want to make a angry pumpkin. I might want to make an angry sugar skull because all of our paper crafts apparently are angry today. But it doesn't matter, it's the same batch of materials. The kids get to choose the same activity, same materials, same rubric, but everybody walks away with something uniquely theirs. So their engagement and their effort is a bit more. They have that bit of ownership to the project versus just cookie cutter, everybody makes the same thing. I'm gonna grab over here one of my examples out to the side from last week. This is Mr. Light Up Spider. We're not going to make him today because he's way too much work. But here's a good example of a bigger project. So it doesn't be like a simple greeting card, because when people think of paper circuits, they tend to think of, oh, I'm just going to make a greeting card with the kids. No, that's really simple. That's very low level. The paper craft's a bit nicer for that ages 10 and up for paper circuits. Spider's a bit more work. We've got our nice big fuzzy pipe cleaner legs on here. It's the template with a couple of color changing LEDs on there, a battery and some tape. But in general, the hard work is in the physical paper construction. That'll be a theme here today. The hard work's in the paper. Electronics is the easy part for them, so they can have a bit of confidence building that is not hard for you as a teacher to troubleshoot or to classroom manage, because that's always a big one. So Spider, away. And we're gonna first show off another project as well. We actually did this one last week. Let me see if I can grab this little guy right here. Here we go. This is, my LEDs are off from last time a bit here. Are we gonna do this for me, Mr. Pumpkin Man? There we go. So last week we made a pumpkin very similar to this. This is just a slightly different version because we updated directions since last time, slightly. This is just a pumpkin, paper craft pumpkin. Very simple if you wanna have a nice light up pumpkin. And we also showed in our last video how you can take these basic supplies and just add them to a real pumpkin as well. So you have a lot of large orange gourds sitting in your classroom. You don't want to have any open flames, add maker tape. There we go, Pete. Thank you. Oh, Pete, you're awesome. Pete's hot on that button. He's just like, I got this covered. Josh is totally going to say this. But you can just easily add that on there to a pumpkin or other existing Halloween decorations. Get an easy activity to give some of your faster students when it comes to, you always have those couple of kids who are always like, I get things done in 5 minutes. You always have one or two of those in your classroom. But here, do some decorations in here or add to a whiteboard, blackboard window, because that maker tape will peel right off when it's done without any effort. Unlike that copper foil, which will never come off, be there for years. But so let's move on to, we're gonna do first our hard thing and then our easy thing. So one of the things we like to do is use self-sticking motors, which comes in our origami circuits kit, as well as those take-home student packs. But this is a self-sticking motor. It's a vibrating motor, kind of like the pager motors you might find in a BristleBot or a cell phone, the vibrating motor, but everything's internal on this little disc motor. The cool thing is it has a sticky side to it, so just peel and stick and you're done. It sticks to things like a paper circuits project, which is really handy when I make something vibrate around the table. So we have quite a few different three-dimensional Halloween-based vibrating things, like our little tiny chattering, oh, there we go, chattering vampire teeth, chattering teeth. You know the classic wind-up chattering teeth thing? It's that, but papercraft format. We're gonna make our own. And again, this is not a simple project because it requires a decent amount of cutting and folding. Actually, oh, I was gonna break it up, Pete. I actually have it right here in front of me.
The real version.
Here's a real version. So we just have this nice template where everything comes together, because the really easy part is the electronics here, which I'm gonna show you how to do a couple different versions of that, because it's just adding a motor to battery. But the hard part is cutting this out and folding it, which is why this is a better activity than a lot of our other paper circuits for that 8th grade through high school level. Those kids like, other stuff is so easy peasy, will be done in no time. This takes effort. You know, break out your scissors, break out some nice rulers to fold these edges over. And it takes a bit of time to put this together, but it's nice little chattering, chomping teeth. So you take this wonderful thing and then you spend a few minutes with a pair of scissors off screen, chop, 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 and then you end up with, oh, look at that, I'm so good at cutting. It's Pete, it's all Pete did that. Then you end up with this guy. And this is we're using some heavier cardstock, and I always recommend that 30 to 50 pound cardstock, not too heavy, but better than printer paper, to put this guy together, or any other like larger paper crafts we do. So you just end up, first off, folding all this stuff up. So there's all these little dotted lines here to fold and cut. I'm not gonna sit here folding this because that's really boring to watch. We're gonna move on to electronics in just a second, but fold all these things and have the kids decorate to their heart's content. Colored pencils work just well. Then you end up with step number 3 right here, the chomping teeth all folded and slightly glued or taped together. make sure I'm in frame. There we go. There we go. Ta-da. Adding electronics on the inside is really pretty easy. I'm going to take this piece of tape out because I was totally using it earlier for a different video. So there's a couple different ways of doing this. You can either want to attach electronics ahead of time to it when it's flat and folded together, because all we're doing is connecting our vibrating motor leads here to the battery. There's a couple different ways of doing that. Our directions have one way where we use a little bit of tape to connect from point A to point B, but we can also easily just grab our battery like so, and use a couple pieces of maker tape to just tape down the wire leads to the battery. If you want to get really, really, really simple, don't have to worry about an off switch or any other fancy like things like that, which you can totally build in. We have those in some of our directions as well. You can just literally use maker tape and just tape this down really, really, really quick and easy. And then also stick this to your paper craft, which we're going to be doing here. And that's a really, really simple way of doing it. We always try to find like a very simple way for electronics. Now, if you had some older kids involved, I would always try to have them brainstorm some ideas because they say like, oh, we've done a few projects like this already. How can we expand this? How we can get their brains flowing in a different way? So I always try to tell them, okay, design your own switch, design your own way to turn it on and off. There's a million ways of doing that with this. There's no right or wrong way as long as it works. And it's not like too overly convoluted or over the top weird as some kids like to do. I've had kids use binder clips before to turn things on and off. I've had kids make little paper switches. I'll show you how to do a very simple way of doing that using just a piece of tape right now. So I'm gonna grab some maker tape right here and my handy dandy scissors. So first and foremost, I always like to tape down one of my wire leads to my battery ahead of time, just so I know one wire is in place, and typically that's the bottom negative wire, if we're just gonna make it really simple. Also, because I'm working in a confined space on this guy, if it's laying flat on the table, I have a few more options available to me. So there we go. I've got just one wire lead down, taped down with a conductive tape. So now it's super on there. And I've always, test for good measure. There you go, it's vibrating, yay. So I'm gonna use a tape loop of conductive tape because I don't have other tape on the table. Oh, I do have other tape. You could use other tape. I'm gonna use a piece of conductive tape to do this. We do a lot of tape loops. There we go, for some ways to connect tape to our batteries because our nylon tape is conductive on top and bottom. We're gonna use this just to stick the battery to the project. I typically use this to connect it to an existing line of tape on here, but I'm not going to. Ta-da, now I've just got this in place. I've got this guy in place like so. I'm gonna actually stick him to the paper. It always works better when it's stuck to the paper. If you wanna get super, 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 super simple, you just stick the motor to the battery to make everything very, very simple. Now I still gotta connect the top of my battery, my positive, to this wire somehow. Now I'm gonna show you a very simple way of doing that so I can make an on and off switch that's not too much effort. I'm just gonna use a long piece of tape and going from up here down and over to the top of this battery. Super, super simple way. And then we can easily take that little end, the wire, remove it off and on and off very, very simply with that. I'm gonna actually cut a little bit longer piece of tape just to be sure, because I always run out of tape when I least expect it to. But stuff like this is just a great way of having the kids brainstorm their own solution because there is no wrong or right way as long as it turns on and off. And again, the hard part should be the paper crafts in this, not the electronics. So I'm gonna start from the top and go through thin air up to the top there. So just going straight up like that. Maker tape also peels off of smooth surfaces really easy, like the battery here, so it can peel it off really simply. So I'm just going to come up like so, and I'm going to snip right here just to make life really simple. Ta-da! And I'm just going to run another piece of maker tape over from this spot right here to this spot, just for the fun of it. Then I can easily, I'm going to use another piece of maker tape to tape that wire lead down so I can easily pull it on and off when necessary. If I was doing this differently and I had a little more space involved or did this before I put it together, I do like a right angle turn because the tape works really well for right angle turns because it's nice and sturdy because it's nylon. And we're just going to use a second piece of tape to then connect this wire right here to this other tape. So when I want to be done with this thing, turn it off, I can just peel that back really easily. And actually, I will fold over the end of that. Well, I would have, if I was smart about it. So it's coming on and off very easily. And then this guy can just rotate around and move around the table. Depending on put him together, he'll kind of go in different directions. But there you go. You have yourself some chomping teeth. That should be, there we go, relatively easy to come undone. I should have flipped over the end here so I can peel that up. There we go. But again, there's lots of different ways of doing this to make it work, which is why I like it as an activity to have them brainstorm their own way out of this for the older students. And again, anything that deals with vibrating motors, typically an older crowd then does the typical light up stuff. So we'll put Mr. Chompers to the side here. We're going to move on to the other thing. Pete, what's our time looking like right now?
It's 4:32 right now.
Perfect, great. So one of the things that we like to do are some massive various themes on different holidays. So we have this really great sugar skull, which depending on your demographic of students may or may not know exactly what this is. But it's one of the many projects we have for Day of the Dead, but also works well for Halloween. So this is an easy paper circuits project that uses a nice little fold over up here in the top. Oh, Pete has the big directions. I have my big directions.
Template and some directions.
There we go. And like all of our projects, typically we have a nice big printout direction set and a template to cut out. And this will be my printout with some bit better paper. Or if you want to have the students design their own sugar skull as well, this design template, there's nothing on the back. You can just follow this and the directions and add this in as well onto a generic sugar skull you have, or have the kids design their own from scratch. Again, depending on how artistic and the age level of your students involved. So this one here, we're putting some electronics on one side and some on the other side. Like this pumpkin we did the other day on our own live stream, we actually put all the electronics on the back side of this guy. You could do the same thing with this as well by having everything on the rear. We're just going to do a little fold over because we like to show off the electronics in this one a bit, just a little bit. So first and foremost, we're going to grab a couple of LEDs. Ta-da. And LEDs, like all diodes, have a positive and negative leg. That's right, LED stands for light emitting diode. You've learned something new today. Oh, look at that, Pete, with the graphic. Thanks, Pete. I know the graphic is there. I'm always very surprised because Pete's on top of it. So we got to, basically we're gonna put the negative short leg on the top of the project and the positive long leg on the back of the project. This actually works pretty well for a lot of kids. So you have one side positive, one side negative, helps them keep everything organized a lot easier. Again, depending on the age level of your students. Ages 10, 11, 12, like positive on the back, negative on the front, keeps it easy. I'm going to poke a little hole right here with this safety pin because I'm using thicker paper. If I was using printer paper, I wouldn't need this, but we're using some heavier paper here. Mr. Safety Pin. And we're going to separate out these legs. I'm going to bend my negative leg to the side and poke my positive leg through this eye hole. There we go. Do the same thing over here. Negative leg out. Ta-da. If you want to have a lot of fun, have the kids test their LEDs out ahead of time with a battery so know which side is positive and negative. Because if they're backwards, they won't work. Ta-da. And we're going to fold the leg on the back side down, kind of clamping it in place. So both legs are kind of just still sticking out. They're both going this way. Now, luckily, it's pretty easy on the front side for this one. So we're just going to run the negative legs. We're going to connect, come together, connect, and go straight up and stop right here because that's where the battery is going to sit. Now, we use a binder clip in this method to hold things together or use a little tape loop of maker tape to hold things down. If your kids get it backwards, it's fine. Just flip your battery around as long as the legs are the same on each side. It's easy peasy. So we're going to grab some maker tape and can I connect those maybe a little bit? I can. Let's go like this, little maker tape here, little maker tape here. Since our maker tape is conductive on top and bottom, we overlap and we have a solid connection right there. Hashtag maker tape. No one ever uses that hashtag, so.
I do.
Oh, Pete, well, of course you do, Pete, because he's Pete. It's not much that Pete doesn't do. He brings in cookies to the office. Oh, he has free T-shirts for people. The man is.
I forgot to make you birthday cookies. I'll bring them in next week.
Oh, that's right. It should be like, oh, where are my birthday cookies,
Yeah,
Pete?
next
Where are my
next
cookies?
week, I'll let you choose what kind you want.
Oh, well, that's gonna be a fun one. So there you go. So I did not do a great job of this, but connected together. I could have used just one piece to here and one piece up. But there we go. We're gonna have the negative set of our battery hanging out right here. Ta-da. So everything on the front is done. If you're smart, a smarter person than I am, you can have the tape be part of the overall design. And again, if you have older kids, have everything on the back side, all the electronics. So we're good, we're done on this side. Later on, if you want to, you can put on, we have these fun little covers as well. Ta-da, you can put over, they're part of the template. We're gonna flip this guy over and add a little bit more maker tape. Ta-da, on this side. So I'm just gonna make life really simple and just go like this. As long as they're, ta-da, they're all connected. Positive and positive connected together. Here's another piece of maker tape to go from here up and around. The hardest part about maker tape is getting sometimes the backing off if you don't have any, have very thin fingernails, or some people just have a hard time with it. I typically don't. Every now and then there's one roll that vexes me.
Sometimes I use the scissors, just kind of snip going, and you can.
But there's a reason why we have the wax paper backing on the back. We're in that conundrum. Do we put wax paper on the back of this or not? And we chose to put wax paper on there because teachers often like to cut off a chunk and give it to students. Like here is your 2 feet of tape for this project today. And if there was no wax paper backing on there, it's hard to hand out tape that's already sticky because you just end up with a mess. And we're just gonna, okay, come to the middle here. We're gonna snip.
And that adds a few minutes to the project then.
Something like an extra 3 minutes over here on this activity. Well, I'm in a situation like everyone's done 5 minutes early. What do I do?
Feel this tape.
Watch an episode of Bill Nye. No. So in this situation, we're done with electronics. It wasn't very difficult. Again, the hard part's the paper and the decorating. All we have to do is flip this over and there we go. Now you can use a binder clip or paper clip to hold this together. I like to use a tape loop approach on a lot of our stuff these days to hold things together, especially for situations like this. So I just make a little loop of tape like with some maker tape, and I'll stick it on the top. Since it is conductive on top and bottom, which I keep saying over and over again, we can just here put a little bit on the bottom and stick the battery down. And then do the same thing on top. And they'll still be, the stickiness is not super sticky. It's not like your really nice high-end like mounting tape that'll take drywall off. So you can still peel that back, especially off the hard, smooth surface that is the metal battery, and it's an easy on and off switch. Because while it's fun to watch these be on all the time, you don't want your battery dead. Ta-da! My sugar skull is done, it's stuck together. No need for a binder clip or paper clip, but decorating this is pretty simple. We also have color changing LEDs in our kits. I didn't use those today. Oh, well, now I'm just ruining things. Those are just naturally color changing LEDs. Should have used a bit more tape there. So naturally color changing LEDs are nice just because they have a little bit of pizzazz for no extra effort. In our origami circuits kit, which have the vibrating motors in them, we also include these 5mm. These are 10, these are 5mm diameter. Self-blinking LEDs, they just blink, which is great for pumpkins or sugar skulls or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Sorry, Randolph, the legally distinct generic elk.
The maroon nosed. Yeah.
He's got a green nose because all the kids are colorblind.
Yeah.
Like me. But naturally blinking is just kind of fun as well. But the big jumbo LEDs, this is what we include in all of our kits for a reason, because they're nice, they're fun, about the size of a gumdrop, and they're easy for kids to manipulate because of their larger size and give the kids what they want. But then, hey, there you go. We can add some decorations to our sugar skull, and we have just sugar skulled this thing up. Ta-da! If we had the sound effects working, you'd hear it. Ta-da! Oh, there you go. There's one that we really decorated well. We use this nice this cardstock, but it's glossy, which does not take markers very well. So if you ever use cardstock, don't get the glossy stuff. We use this for printing all of our packaging. Works well on camera, but it does not work well with markers. They just they don't absorb very easily on here. So we colored pencil, which does not look as nice. So anywho, long story short, sugar skull and our chattering teeth. Again, Halloween and like really Q4 of the year, that like semester 1, great time for paper crafts because all your light up holidays are there. There's just always something, from your Randolph the green-nosed elk, to your sugar skulls, to your chattering teeth, to your menorahs, your Christmas trees, your fake gingerbread houses, which is a fun one too, doing like a fake gingerbread house out of cardboard. Because doing an actual gingerbread house in a classroom is a sticky mess, but you can make a cardboard like gingerbread house and use maker tape, because these are the size of like a gumdrop. So you can add some of these with maker tape, then add real gumdrops to it if you want to go that way. And it looks really fun and funky, and it's really, really easy to light up a bunch of LEDs on cardboard with the tape on there. But again, simple things, or even just going a bit further, I like to do our maker tape on glass windows facing outward. So you can make a fun decoration using the tape as part of the design. For instance, I used to do a Christmas tree where the outline of the tree was taped. So we had the outline of with the tape, and then LEDs along there, which looked really cool. Which is also why there's still probably a copper foil tape on that school 10 years later, because that copper foil won't come off, but a maker tape will. But on that note, that's it. That's our stuff here. All these templates on NASCO's website, along with the paper circuits kits and those small student kits as well. Jordan, I'm sure you have a few things to point out. If there are any questions, please ask. Like, we're here. We love when people ask us questions now, because we can answer them now. Be sure to email engage@nascoeducation.com. If you have any questions. Also follow NASCO and sign up for more of these fun webinars, because you can't go out and have fun with your friends now, so might as well hang out with us and make cool paper crafts. Yay! It's a Wednesday.
All right. Well, thanks, Josh, for presenting. And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Jordan Nelson. I'm one of the customer engagement managers in NASCO. I was your host today, and I wanted to give a shout out to all your educators who are still making it happen for students. You're awesome. Thank you. We're in unprecedented times, so I know we're trying to make do with all the hybrid learning and potentially of going remote and then being in the classroom, especially with like elementary students or middle school or high school. You never know. But like as Josh was saying, if you have any other questions, you can ask them at this time. As you're writing them, I did want to make a quick note that these are intended to be easy to learn, engaged STEM activities that you can integrate and supplement your curriculum at home or at school. We have a lot of different handouts that I just uploaded to in the handout section on the webinar control panel. Make sure to look at those. Those templates are really good to be able to utilize, and you can even modify those as well if you wanted to experiment. There's a lot of different capabilities you can do with those. We'd love to hear from you as well. You can share with us on our social handles. I did get a note to say someone wished you a happy birthday, Josh. So that's awesome. Thank you, Ruth.
Ruth, you're awesome. You're my favorite person, Ruth, today. Well, in the webinar.
Also, if you're anxious to connect with NASCO outside of this webinar, make sure, or if you want any more information about other different digital solutions we have, you can reach out to us at engage@nascoeducation.com. This is a reoccurring webinar series. So next week, we're also going to have another webinar for the episode 6. We're getting into the little bit of colder weather. So I figured good time too to also show some kind of flashy designs. So make sure to look out for that link if you haven't so already. That's going to be episode 6. We're going to do some awesome things, flashy designs. I'll kind of leave it as like a little secret, but that way we can excite people to come for next week.
Hopefully, Jordan, our construction STEM will be in a new live streaming studio. I've been saying that for 3 weeks now as construction keeps dragging on. Literally, that's where we're streaming in a hallway. I can see like the big plastic sheet on the other half of our place here, but well, hopefully next week have the new studio set up so it looks a little cool green screen and all the fun special effects to go with it that you always want to see when learning about education topics.
Absolutely. Yep. And then so this week it was at 4:15 p.m. Central Time. Next week it's going to go back to our regular time at 3 p.m. Central Time, or if it's 4 o'clock East Coast or 1 o'clock West Coast. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions currently right now. I'm going to wait just another few seconds here before we close off. Oh, you can hear that motor just going.
Oh, I should turn it. It is a bit noisy, isn't it?
It's okay. Also, last things not but least, if you have any feedback or comments for these different activities, please let us know. We're going to be potentially incorporating some of those And as we get into maybe November too, we're going to start looking at some Thanksgiving themes as well. That's a good look, Josh. It looks
I try.
really good.
We've got a great
So,
Terminator Turkey template if you want to go full fun 80s. It's half turkey, half Terminator. It's hard to put LEDs on turkeys. I just that's the best we've come up with. But if you have
yeah,
a better
we
idea, let us know and we'll
actually
make
included
it.
that in the template. So if you do want that, it's in there. It's a nice little surprise. So
But we're not kidding. If somebody has a better idea for like how to like light things up for Thanksgiving, let us know and we will totally design an activity and make directions for it and put it out there for free for everybody. We always tell people, if you have a better idea than what we're doing, let us know and we'll do it. We're always happy to make up cool, especially papercraft stuff, and write directions for that and make templates, because there's only so many ideas we can squeeze out of our brains in the course of a year for papercraft things. So we're always keen for new ideas coming our way for that.
all right. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I think that's a wrap. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Next week is going to be awesome as well. We're going to have some cool designs, a little bit different than you would traditionally think. We're getting away from the paper designs, so it's going to be a little bit cooler. So, all right. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll hope to see you next week. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.